Welcome to today's episode of Igniting the Truth with me, Sharon. There are moments in life when we're called to stop, to listen, and to truly feel the weight of what's happening around us. Today is one of those moments. I'm honored to sit with a woman whose life is a powerful testimony to love, sacrifice, and fierce advocacy for the voiceless. Sharon Rushton is a wife, a mother, a pastor, a friend, and a tireless activist. But above all, she is a child of God. For the last 24 years, she has dedicated her life to protecting the most innocent among us. Sharon is the founder and director of Life-Link Pregnancy Crisis Center and Jeremiah's Hope, Baby Safe and Shelter, both based in Kempton Park, Gauteng. These incredible initiatives exist to offer life-affirming alternatives to abortion, to abandonment, and to despair. Through her work, Sharon brings not just support, but dignity and hope to women in crisis and to babies whose lives hang in the balance. I know this conversation is going to be hard. We're talking about the heartbreaking reality that newborn babies are being discarded, dumped, and left to die. Often in silence, and often unseen. But I believe that silence is part of the problem. So my hope is that today's conversation opens eyes, stirs hearts, and compels action. So let's begin. Sharon, thank you so much for joining me today. It's an absolute privilege to have you here, and just for us to be able to learn from you in the wealth of knowledge and experience that you've gained over the years in serving the Lord in this mighty way. I'd love for you to start by going back to the beginning and just take us back to where everything started for you. What was the turning point in your life that led you on this journey and later on for LifeLink to be born?
Well, it started a long time ago, and I was in grade 10, standard 8 back in those days, and I was in an all-girl class because of subject choices that we had to follow. And the teachers at the time were a little bit concerned that the girls would get pregnant and drop out of school. So they thought to scare us from not doing that, they would show us pictures of aborted babies. This was back in 1983. Abortion wasn't legal at that time, so I don't know why they chose that method, but it was something that stuck with me. I have a big heart for babies. The smaller the better. And I just thought, this can't happen on my watch. And it's not like right there and then the seed germinated for LifeLink. It was a long process, but it was planted in my heart that how can people do this? And I need to do something. And so it was right back in 1983 where the seed for LifeLink and Jeremiah's Hope was planted. So fast forward a number of years, I married my childhood sweetheart. I was 19 when I married him. By the time I was 27, I had 2 little ones. And I really felt that the Lord was speaking to me about getting involved in a pregnancy crisis center. And at that point, the nearest one was in Pretoria. I stay out on the East Rand, and so I would collect things on the East Rand and take them through to Pretoria to the pregnancy crisis center that was there. And I would drag my mom with and my second son, because the other one was in nursery school. And we'd load the car up and we'd take it to the pregnancy crisis center. And my mom said to me, one day you'll have your own center. And it wasn't like that's what I had planned. But obviously it's what God had planned. So that went on for a number of years. And then in 2000, we were sitting in a missions conference. And the speaker, I can't even remember who he was, he stood up and he was challenging the church on where's your rehabilitation for prostitutes and where's your outreach program for this and for that. And then he said, and where's your pregnancy crisis center? And it's as if the lights went on and God was saying, this is your call. And I said to my husband, I feel that the Lord's saying we need to do this. I've been supporting the centre in Pretoria, but I need to do this. And I went to the pastor and I said to him, I have a desire to start a pregnancy crisis centre under covering of the church. And he said to me, you haven't done your homework. You need to do a business plan. And I was quite offended. I was like, what do I know about a business plan? And this is a ministry. Why do I need a business plan for a ministry? But I went away and I put together a doozy of a business plan. And I took it back to him. And in 2001, on the 18th of July 2001, we officially opened LifeLink. And we'd rented a huge house because I really felt that there were 3 phases to this vision. The first was a pregnancy crisis centre. The second was a home for unmarried moms who were releasing their babies for adoption. And the third was a baby shelter. And so we got this home, and the owner was very, very generous. He gave us, we were paying 1,000 Rand rent a month for a 3-bedroom home with a massive lapa and a granny flat. And so it was very affordable. And we started the Pregnancy Crisis Centre, and we were doing counselling for women facing unplanned pregnancies, and we were giving them their options and supporting them. And very soon after that, we opened the mother home for moms who were giving their babies up for adoption. And in those days, there was quite a stigma of being a single mom and a teenage girl that is pregnant. So the girls would actually come and almost hide away and have their babies and then release them for adoption and then go back to where they came from. And that took place in that house from 2001 to 2006. 2006, the stigma of being a single mom decreased substantially, and schools were allowing pregnant girls to go to school. Some of them weren't allowed to wear uniform, but they could still go to school. And then, eventually it was just an accepted thing that pregnant girls could still go to school. And the need for the mother home decreased drastically. So in 2006, the running costs with paying the house mother and the rental and phones and food and everything, it was 10,000 Rand a month. And I just felt that having one girl every 3 months was just not being a good steward. And there were other mother homes around. So we decided to close the mother home and to move the Pregnancy Crisis Centre to an office type environment and have the girls come in as outpatients. Although they're not patients, we call them clients. And so we looked around and I really felt that God was leading me to inner city Kempton Park and up a specific road. And I would drive up this road, which is a one-way, so I couldn't even turn around and come back down again. I would drive and then go around the block and then drive and then go around the block until God showed me to go to child welfare. And I pulled in at child welfare and I spoke to the director, and she was very accommodating, and they gave me an office which they said I could rent. They even moved their staff around so that I could have one office away from not interrupting them, and it was just on its own. That office eventually grew to 2 offices and a big walk-in cupboard for our donations, and we were there from 2006 to 2019.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. But we did find that a lot of women didn't want to come to child welfare because they felt that if they came there and they were not able to properly care for their children, the misconception was that child welfare would just take their children away. So there were clients, but not many. They were coming in and they were getting their options counselling, but I really felt that because of where we were, we should be getting more clients. Around about 2016, there was a spate of abandoned babies in Kempton. They found 6 babies in 7 weeks in and around Kempton, and all of them were deceased. They'd been just dumped, discarded, abandoned, and left to die.
Sure.
And it really impacted me because I was thinking, here I am, a pregnancy crisis centre in child welfare, and women are still abandoning their babies. I was led to purchase a baby saver. which is a box that you install in a wall. Moms can anonymously place the baby in the box. It has got a mechanism which locks when the baby's put in the baby saver. It has alarms that ring with various role players. It could be ambulance services, security, whoever's going to take care of the baby. And so I bought this, but I had nowhere to put it because I couldn't put it in at child welfare. It's not manned 24 hours a day. And so I started praying. I said, Lord, I've got this baby saver, but now what? And that was 2016, and it stood on my office floor for 3 years. And then in 2019, a church came to give us a donation. And with the pastor and his wife was another lady, and she had painted a prophetic picture, and it was a baby in hands. It was a depiction of a baby in God's hands, and she donated it to me. Yeah, that hung in my office for 6 months, and then 6 months later she came to me and she said, my husband and I love the idea of what you want to do. You want new premises where you can put the baby saver. We would like to give you a donation. And that was great until she told me the donation was 600,000 Rand, and then I nearly fell off my chair.
Wow.
So they pledged 600,000 Rand towards a new property for LifeLink. And I was, wow, that's amazing, but it's not enough. So I had, over the years, saved up 100,000 Rand. And I approached a foundation that I'd worked with before, and they were supporting me on an ongoing basis financially. And I went to them and I said, I need to buy property to do the baby saver, to do the pregnancy crisis center. And I told the lady, 600,000's been pledged. I have 100,000. Would you consider pledging 500,000? Because in my spirit, I felt that the property was going to cost 1.2 million. And I felt that God was telling me in a very specific area where to go and look for this property. So it had to be above the main road, but it had to be to the side of another main road. It was very specific. It had to be in a certain square of Kempton. So the foundation agreed, but they said, keep your 100,000, you're going to need that for costs will match the previous pledge. So they also pledged 600,000.
What?
So I had the 1.2 million, but I didn't have the property. So the lady from the foundation came with me and we went looking at different properties, and she was advising and giving her opinion on what would be the best property. And I value this lady's opinion. I've known her for a very long time. And so we'd looked at 5 properties, and on the way back, we drove past our property. And the agent stopped and he said, this house is available, but it's not on the market yet. But it's, it's going to go on sale. And I said, if this property is 1.2 million, it's our property.
And by that time, you haven't even had a look inside yet.
No.
You were just on the outside, but You just knew.
It was very neat, and it was pale yellow, and our emblem is a sunflower. And it just spoke to me. And I said to him, if this property is 1.2 million, this is our property. And then he arranged for us to go inside and have a look. And it was beautiful. It was fully tiled. It was just perfect. It has 3 bathrooms, one in the entrance, like a public toilet, one in one of the bedrooms, which is now my office. So I have my own private little facility. And one in the one office that we use as a counselling room, which is perfect because we can do pregnancy tests and things like that in the privacy of that office. It was just perfect. And he said to me, it's 1.3 million. And I said, no, you don't understand. This is a cash deal and it has to be 1.2. And he was quite surprised. He said, are you sure it's cash? And I said, yes.
But by that time, you didn't have the money yet, or did you?
No, it wasn't. It was pledged. Yes.
Wow.
And so I didn't have that money in a bank account anywhere. Not my personal account, not LifeLink's account. It was just pledged. And we went to the agents a couple of days later because now I put in an offer to purchase. Still didn't have the money.
Wow.
And I took my husband with and we signed these papers. And when the agent walked out to go and make copies or something, he said to me, you do realize we've just bought a house without the money? And I said to him, yes. It's kind of daunting. Because, we have our own home and we're still paying that off. And now we've just bought this property. And within 2 days, the money came through and that 1.2 million rand was paid off.
Wow. And they accepted the offer then for
Yes,
the 1.2
they did.
cash.
So the one donor put the money in. The next day, the other donor put the money in and the property was paid for.
Wow.
There was loads of miracles along the way. We had to rezone the property, which was going to cost us 46,000 rand. But the city planners only charged us, I think it was 4,000. So
what does that involve? Rezoning?
So it was residential,
Mm-hmm.
but then they have to get permission from the municipality and everybody around to make it almost like business.
Oh, business,
zone it
like
as
a business. Okay.
But it's a different zoning because it was a care facility, because I had vision for building Jeremiah's Hope. So Jeremiah's Hope is a project of LifeLink. LifeLink provides positive alternatives to abandonment, so through positive alternatives to abortion, so through counselling and offering the alternatives such as foster care, place of safety, kinship care, all that kind of thing, and support. And then Jeremiah's Hope is the positive alternative to abandonment. So instead of abandoning your baby, releasing it for adoption into our care facility. And then through the child protection organization or child welfare, the baby gets released for adoption. So we had LifeLink, the pregnancy crisis center, in the front, but we still didn't have the baby shelter. And I have a special needs son and run a support group for parents of special needs children. And so one of the dads that we'd met through this group and through the association contacted me and said that his boss had a passion for baby savers and had even considered putting it up at their offices, but their offices were in an enclosed area and nobody would be able to get to them to place the baby in the baby saver, and arranged a meeting with the director that had this vision. So I went and I saw her, and by the time I left, her and the person that was with her were in tears because it really touched their heart about what we want to do. She said to me, "How much do you need?" And I'd never expected them to offer.
To donate anything,
yeah. To make an offer. And I said, "I need 500,000 rand." And she said, "No problem."
What?
So they gave me 500,000 rand to build the baby section, which is specifically designed for our babies. So there's a large room where the babies sleep and play, and that's like their living quarters. Then there's a night staff room, there's a quarantine room, there's a milk kitchen, a specially designed baby bathroom, staff toilets, a laundry, and then a large storeroom. And so they gave me the money to build Jeremiah's Hope.
And once again, your whole dream that the Lord put in your heart was born.
Yes.
And where he guided, he provided. Not one thing fell short of the dream or the vision he gave you, or the visions.
That 3-part vision, we'd already done 1 and 2. We closed 2 because there wasn't a need for it. And this was 20 years later.
Wow.
We got the 3rd part of the vision, and that was the baby shelter.
And it shows you that, we shouldn't be impatient if the Lord gives us a dream or a vision in a specific time, because many times a lot of years have to pass before that part of the dream or the vision is for the appointed time that it's meant for, but that we shouldn't lose heart, that we should keep on praying over it, nurturing that dream or that vision until it's the Lord's appointed time.
A lot of perseverance. There were times that we would have 5 clients a month and it was like 1 a week, and is this worth it? But I suppose if you think of that story of the starfish, that guy that was throwing the starfish into the sea, and the father said, "Why are you bothering? There's so many on the beach." And he said, "For 1 starfish, it'll make a difference." For those girls that we saw in those quiet times, that made a difference. And then we move into this place, and it explodes, where we're having, on some days, soon after COVID, we had 17 clients in one day.
Wow. So the word really spread.
Yes. And the ladies felt safe and they felt comfortable. But perseverance is a huge thing. It's like prophecy. People will receive a prophecy, and it's good to just put it on the shelf until God matures it and ripens it and brings it to fruition. Sometimes we get a prophecy and we want to push it and we want it to happen like yesterday. But the important thing is to allow God's timing, because had we pushed those things, had we pushed for Jeremiah's hope to happen earlier, we wouldn't have had the funding. We wouldn't have had the place. I would never have had the money to build Jeremiah's hope. And then the one day I was sitting in my office and a small little blonde lady who reminds me of a little butterfly floating around from flower to flower, she walked in and she was like full of energy and vivacious and bubbly, and she was like wanting to see the property, and I was showing her around. I did a little guided tour and I was showing her everything. And she asked me, what is your need? And I said, a sustainability project where I can generate funds that can get funneled into the baby section. And she asked me, what did I have a vision for? What did I envisage this money-generating project to look like? And I said, I want to build 3 offices and rent those out to like social workers or something. And then that rent will be my income-generating project. And she said, my husband is involved in a foundation and send me all this paperwork. And I did. And they gave us 600,000 rand to build the offices.
What?
So we built the offices.
Wait now. So first it started with the
1.2 million
the
for the house.
1.2, then another 500 for Jeremiah's Hope,
Yes.
the baby center, and then another
600,000.
Oh my word.
And we built the office block, which we rented out. And so, God has provided. Like I said, the city planners, the town planners, they gave us a huge discount. We had a guy come in and do gutters, and he just charged us for the materials. No labor. The security company who I approached to help with the security as far as the babies are concerned that are put in the baby saver, they have been amazing. They only charge us for maintenance. They don't charge us for call-outs. They don't charge us for, if we're feeling a little unsafe and they send a vehicle past us. They don't charge us for anything like that. It's just maintenance. If there's a baby in the baby saver, they get notified. They've put a backup system in the baby saver, which they use to notify me again that there's a baby in the baby saver. And in the 4 years that the baby saver's been open, we've had 8 babies through the baby saver.
Wow.
And so the security company does that free of charge. We have a local hospital that does our first medical on all our babies free of charge, a private hospital.
A private hospital. Once again, just the favor of the Lord.
So everything just fell into place because it was in God's timing. It's just been incredible. I tell people, this is not my project. This is God's project. This is His project that He ordained right back in 1983. And so we have the Pregnancy Crisis Center, we have the office block, we have Jeremiah's Hope, Baby Safe and Shelter, all on one property. And God's provided all of it.
And then take us through the different branches of your organization. If we start off with the Pregnancy Crisis Center, how many ladies would you say comes through your doors in a week? And are they all young ladies or older ladies as well?
So our organization is affiliated to a national body, but not run by the national body. It's not like a franchise. Okay. So if God lays it on your heart to start a Pregnancy Crisis Center, you get credibility through being part of the Pregnancy Help Network. And they do standardized training. You're not just this little lighthouse in the darkness. You're part of a larger organization. So each center, because each person's an individual, has an individual flavor. When I started my center, it was pregnancy crisis counselling, and that was just providing the options, including adoption, and we were linked with a private social worker back in those days, and then later on with a child protection organisation. But we did options counselling, the mother home, and the adoptions. Other centres that open would maybe just do the pregnancy crisis counselling. Over the years, we've grown. We do single mom support program. We do a entrepreneurial program. We do antenatal classes, we do HIV testing and counselling, we do pregnancy crisis counselling and pregnancy tests. So to start off, the moms would come in. If they don't know they're pregnant and they suspect, we would do a pregnancy test in a controlled environment. But it's just like a test that you could get from a pharmacy and over the counter. So it's not a medical procedure, but it is in a controlled environment, so that depending on the results of the test, depends on the counselling that the woman will receive. So if it's a young girl, and our youngest clients have been 13 years of age, and she starts off with a positive test and said, my mother's going to kill me, I need to have an abortion. We start off with, is your mom violent? Has she killed anybody before? Why do you say that she's going to kill you? Has she threatened you? Are you in an abusive home? Start off with that. Then, why would you consider abortion? So for a lot of us moms, we threaten our children from a very young age. If you come home pregnant, I'm going to kick you out. Don't ever come home pregnant. I don't want to see you if you're pregnant. These things are seeded into our children. Will we really kill them if they're pregnant? Not many parents will. Yes, they'll be in shock, they'll be in denial, they'll be angry, but they will come to terms with the pregnancy and move forward in whatever that looks like. Maybe they consider adoption as a family, maybe they will consider adoption outside of the family, maybe they will even decide this is our first grandchild and we're going to keep it, But very few girls, although have been threatened with death, actually die at the hands of their parents because they're pregnant. They might be kicked out, and that's where the mother homes came in. They might be kicked out because it brings dishonor to the family or disrepute, or, there's some kind of reason behind the parents getting the girl to leave. But very few actually suffer physical harm. So we will go through that counselling with the girl. What makes you think your parents will harm you? Have they harmed you before? Why are you considering abortion? What do you know about abortion? We do not align ourselves with the practice of abortion. As Christians, we don't believe in it. But we deal with people who aren't necessarily Christian and don't have the same views that we have. And so we go through all of these questions. Why would you consider abortion? Do you know anybody that's had an abortion? What are they like after their abortion? Do you know how it's performed? Do you know what the side effects are? What are the long-term consequences? And so we get the girl to do research. And in doing that research, we hope that she comes to a realization that she's carrying a baby. And even though she might not want the baby, that she doesn't go through a termination, that she might consider other options. Kinship care, which is family taking the baby, adoption, foster care, whatever it looks like. So then, once we've been through the point where she's at and her first thought was an abortion, then we'll go into the other options that are available to her. Having the baby, single parenting with support, foster care, adoption, all that kind of stuff we will follow after we've addressed her immediate decision.
And then what happens if she is leaning more towards abortion? Do you at any point in time guide them or let them know that, but this is actually, it's not just something you're getting rid of, it's murder, it's real life, or are you not allowed to say that to them?
We believe that we are ministers and not manipulators. So we will counsel her as far as these are your options. We cannot say to her, this is murder. Just because we feel that it is and it goes against God's will and God's plan, we are not allowed to say to her, you cannot do this. So in the research that she's doing, where will I go for an abortion? How big is my baby? Look, what does it look like? We hope she comes to a realization that this is actually a baby and I can't do this, and look at other options. So we don't manipulate her into any decision. We give her all the information so that she can make an informed choice, because an informed choice is a responsible choice. So she has to make that choice for herself. Long term, she's got to live with those choices. If I force her into keeping that baby and she's got no food and she's starving and that baby's starving, I'm not walking in her shoes on a daily basis. If I force her into a decision, she might not be able to cope with their decision. And so she has to make a decision that she can live with for the rest of her life. And we equip them with the necessary information on all the choices that are available to them so that they can make an informed and responsible choice.
I think that's really a beautiful way of just ministering to these girls or these ladies, that you just come with love and support, and that they feel safe when they come to your center. And by equipping them, they know that, like you said, it's a responsible choice that they make at the end of the day, and that they are at peace with whatever they decide.
So we wait for them to make their decision. If she says she's adamant and she goes for an abortion, we don't support her in that decision. We will say to her, you need to make sure that where you go, you're going to be safe. Please don't go and buy a tablet off the side of the road, because the person selling you that tablet is just interested in your money and not in your well-being. So go to a reputable place where you're going to get counselling, place where you can get aftercare, where you can ask questions. That is part of what you need to do if this is your decision. And if you feel that afterwards that you're not coping, you're welcome to come back for counselling. So we do post-abortion counselling. We're not going to judge her. We're not living in her circumstances. She can come back for counselling, because physically, if you're doing it at a reputable place, physically you'll probably be okay. But there's no guarantees about how you're going to be emotionally, mentally, psychologically afterwards.
So how many of those girls that you counsel actually do end up, percentage-wise, more or less, end up going with the route of abortion and then coming back afterwards, then being able to see what the emotional impact is on them afterwards?
If they've come to us for crisis counselling, very few will go for an abortion. We also offer a non-diagnostic ultrasound. So we just show them that it's a baby. But we offer it to them. It's up to them to accept or not. We're not using it as a manipulation tool. Once they see their baby on the ultrasound, 57% of abortion-minded women will change their mind. So more than half, because, we can tell ourselves that it's a product of conception, or that it's not a baby, or we've been told that it's just a clump of cells. When we see that baby on the ultrasound, we realize it's a baby. And if they've come to us for pre-counseling, hardly ever will they go for an abortion. Because they've been heard, they've been seen, they've seen the baby, they know that there's support, there's somebody there that will listen to them. Very few will go for an abortion. We do post-abortion counselling, and I do very little of that, because the girls that have come to us beforehand have been loved and nurtured and shown love and respect and have made a quality decision. The girls who went for an abortion and then decided they need counselling, who come to us, we don't get very many. And I'm sure there are lots that have had abortions, but maybe they don't know that there's somebody that they can go and talk to.
And feel safe with.
Yes.
Because I'm sure that most of them are just stuck in this pit of fear. They just feel alone. And once they get the support from your center, then I suppose they can have a sound mind to make the right decision.
You see, a lot of times when we're thinking, as women, when we're thinking about a situation, our brains are like electrified spaghetti. So one thought will trigger another thought that triggers something else, and what this person said, and this situation, and it's all like mixed up, and it's just chaos. So what we get them to do is we get them to write things down. So they can put into maybe columns, pros and cons, or what does my heart say? What does my head say? My heart says I want this baby, but my head says I can't afford it. My heart says it would be nice to be a mom, but my head says I'm too young. So we make them put down all these ideas. And this idea on the practical column doesn't spark an idea in the other column, so you can see clearly in writing what you're thinking and what's going on in your head without it being confusing, and you don't know which way to turn and you don't know where to go, and there's this whirlwind of thoughts and emotions going on in your head. So I like to sit down with them and go through what they're facing. that they're heard, that they're seen. She might think, I need an abortion now because I can't afford the baby later. I ask her, where are you going to be in 9 months' time? You're making decisions today based on today. But where are you going to be in 9 months' time? Can you do something to change your circumstances? If you're unemployed, can you be an informal business trader? Give them tools to equip them. We have a program called JobLink. And in JobLink, we teach the girls to become entrepreneurs so that they can support themselves and their babies. We will support them for the first year with whatever donations have been given to us, if they choose to parent their baby. But after that, we encourage them, if they're not employable, if they can't find a job, and in this economy, a lot of them can't, what can you do to sustain yourself and your baby? So we collect second-hand clothes, we pack them in packs, we get the girl to bring us a very basic business plan. What can I sell? Where can I sell it? Who can I sell it to? What profit will I make? Where will I get the stock? That kind of thing. And then we say to them, bring us the business plan. Once we have your business plan, we will give you the 4 bags of clothes. If it's adult clothes, it's 40 items. If it's children's clothes, it's 60 items. You go and sell that for as much as possible. And that money is the capital to start your informal business.
Wow, that's awesome.
Once a month, we have a business workshop. The girls come in, they share their stories. I'm selling this. It's not going well. I was selling ice cream in winter, for lack of a better example. Okay, well, maybe consider selling soup in winter and ice cream in summer. So we give them ideas, we guide them practically, we speak to them about profit and loss. What is profit? What is a loss? How do you prevent your little business from having losses? You can't eat all the money that you make. You have to plow back into your business. Your business is like a baby. If you don't feed the baby, it's going to die. If you don't feed your business, it's going to die. So some of the money you make has to go back into the business. You have to buy more stock. You have to buy packaging or whatever the case might be. And so once a month, we have a JobLink workshop. And the girls will share stories. They will speak about their concerns or the fact that their business isn't doing well. They learn from each other, and so they grow. 2 of our girls took the profit from their business, signed up an online caregiving course, got their certificates, and then got jobs at the old age home.
Oh my goodness.
So they are now earning a formal salary, monthly salary at the old age home, and supporting their babies.
Now this course that they did, it's an online course.
Yes.
How much did that cost, more or less?
I'm not 100% sure.
But it's probably not that much. It's
Yeah.
affordable.
It's
because
affordable.
they started off with the clothes that you donated to them.
Yes.
And they just made wise choices with it.
Yeah. Another case, we had a lady, she started with her capital that she had, she bought eggs. Cooked up the eggs and then walked around town with eggs and aromat. So you sell a boiled egg, people on the street that are hungry, 5 rand an egg, it's cooked, sprinkle of aromat. And so I think she was getting the eggs at 2 rand an egg, sold them for 5 rand. And then from there, the profit she took, she got eggs and acha, and eventually she came to us with a big smile on her face saying it's the first time that she could afford to pay her other child's school fees.
Wow.
And if they apply themselves,
Yes.
and if they use the very basic, because we're not Business Institute or anything like that, but if they apply the very basic principles of business that we teach them, they will be in a place to be able to support their child.
And it just shows that it doesn't have to be this great idea or innovation. Something as small and basic, like just selling a boiled egg.
Yes.
With some flavoring on it, you can sustain yourself.
Yeah. And that's the key to this. It needs to be basic. It needs to be something small. I had one girl to start a factory that makes detergents. I was like, have you priced the equipment that you're going to need? No. I said, do you know where you're going to do this? No. I said, you need to scale it down a bit. Maybe buy small little bottles, buy an inexpensive detergent, decant it into smaller bottles and sell it for a profit. And then she was like, oh, I can do that. They mustn't go for these huge ideas where they want to start factories, and something you need to be able to do hands-on.
That is within your means
Within
to do
your means.
immediately.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And then how many of these girls or women end up keeping their babies, and how many end up giving them up for adoption?
The majority keep their babies because we equip them to look after the babies. We put them on our single mom support program. So the single mom support program, we collect second-hand baby clothes and equipment. We pack packs, so gender specific and age specific. So we'll pack a 0 to 3, a 3 to 6, and a 6 to 12. So that will take them to the first year, where they will then have to sustain themselves. And we give them the first pack just before they give birth. So they can go to the hospital with something to dress their child in, a blanket, some toiletries, whatever's been donated to us. And they don't have to bring their babies home like fish and chips in brown paper and a pick and pay bag. Because some of the moms, that's all they have to bring their children home in. And you might say, but how can you look after your child if you don't even have a vest and a nappy? But women don't go into having a baby thinking, I'm not going to have anything to support it and I'm going to give it away or throw it away. So that's all they have. So they bring their baby home in newspaper and wrap it in a pick and pay bag because the plastic will keep it warm. So we equip the moms, we give them a 0 to 3 pack. We go through their history, we go through their pregnancy history, we go through everything before we issue the packs. We build rapport with them, we love them, we joke with them, we have a good time with them. And then if she's chosen to keep her baby, we will give her a 0 to 3 pack. She washes those things up because they've all been donated. She prepares it, gets it all ready for when she goes to hospital. And then we tell them, please, when you've had your baby, come and show us, because now we're honorary grannies, or, we want to see our babies. They come back, they show us their babies. And then at 3 months, the clothes that are too small, they wash up, they bring them back to us so that we can repurpose them and recycle them. At the moment, we're supporting 197 single moms. Currently.
Wow.
As of stats of 2 weeks ago. This week we've had a few more, but I haven't put them up yet. So we are close to 200 single moms that we're supporting with our single mom support program. At 3 months, they bring the small clothes back. We reevaluate their file. We take a photo of the baby for our wall. We look at her employment status. Is she employable? And that's when a lot of them go on the job link program.
So from 3 months onwards?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe she's going back to work or whatever the case might be, but we reevaluate her file. And if she qualifies for the second pack, we'll give her a 3 to 6 pack. And that happens again at six months. And then that 6 to 12 month pack is the last pack we give them, because at some point we have to say you have to be on your own. You have to stand on your own 2 feet and you have to look after your baby. We will not materially support a mom, so with packs and things, if she has a child within 3 years of the previous support that we gave her.
I think that's fair and that's good, because it teaches them to be responsible as well.
And if she falls pregnant within those 3 years, we will still do the antenatal classes and the free ultrasounds and the love and support. But we are not there to raise your babies. We're not there to supply everything that your baby needs. So you need to take accountability. If you fall pregnant within 3 years, we'll do all the other services, but we won't support you. If it's after 3 years, then we will consider supporting you.
And are some of the girls or the ladies that go through the cycle again and again and again, or do they actually grow from this process?
The majority grow, but there are those that circumstances push them into that repetitive cycle. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but the majority do break that cycle and move on.
That's wonderful. Now, once these girls come in, like you mentioned earlier, that it sounds like it's more young girls that come in?
It all depends on the demographics of the centre. In Kempton, we are not experiencing many teenage pregnancies coming to the centre. There might be, but they're not coming to us. The majority of our clients are between 25 and 35.
Okay.
So an unplanned pregnancy at any age is a crisis. And so because of where we are, we deal with a lot of 25 to 35-year-old women, and a lot of them are foreigners. So they come to South Africa looking for a better life. Kempton is the gateway, airport, bus routes, whatever. They stop in Kempton thinking that there's loads of jobs. I don't know where they get this perception, but they think there's jobs in Kempton. Maybe they think there's jobs in Joburg, I don't know, but they aren't. So they come and they will generally stay with a friend, or they will call it a sister, but it's not sister by family relation, but it's a country sister. So a person from the same country, and they will share with them until they get on their feet, or they meet somebody and they'll end up living together with this person. And as soon as she gets pregnant, he will dump her. He will abandon her, he will leave her, he will change his number. It's then that she finds out that he actually has a wife somewhere else, which she never knew about, and she's on her own, unemployed, unsupported, and pregnant.
And she doesn't have any paperwork because she's from another country.
Well, some of them do come in legally. Previously, we had a lot of girls with asylum papers, but there are a few that are illegals.
And that makes it difficult because now they can't get support. If the baby is born, the baby can't be registered.
So it does make things very complicated if they have no documentation.
Or do you guys help them to sort out that process? Because that baby is then also vulnerable to fall prey to human trafficking again.
We don't help them. If they are illegals, we don't help them with paperwork. We don't have the capacity to do that.
Because I've heard it's almost like an impossible task to take on. Then what happens to those babies?
She basically needs to get her paperwork from whichever country she comes from, get it to South Africa, and then she can register the baby here.
And then that makes it even more difficult because most of the time they don't have the finances.
It is a vicious circle. But we are not in a position to help them. They're illegals. We can help them with support and things. We can do a scan. I mean, it costs us nothing to do a scan. We can do a scan. We can encourage them. We can give them resources. But we're not in a position to help them if they're illegals, as far as paperwork's concerned.
And I mean, you also have to draw the line somewhere because you can only do so much.
Yes.
Your hands are already tied up with everything that you're busy with. Now, these ladies that come in for support, do they all have a place to stay? Because now you did away with the support home, the shelter, the mother home. You did away with that. So do all of them have a place to stay?
The girls that we see live in the community. We've heard of 5 girls sharing a 1-bedroom flat before. They support each other. There's a lot of Ubuntu as far as, you're from my country, I'll help you kind of thing. So the majority of them have accommodation and will share or are living with the guy that made them pregnant. We have on a few occasions had girls who are homeless or destitute, and if it's a gender-based violence case, we refer them to one of the gender-based violence shelters. And those who have absolutely nowhere to stay, we refer to the department or we try and find them a shelter. But the majority of the girls are living in or sharing a flat or a house or something.
That helps because I can imagine how heartbreaking it must be for you guys who deal with these cases to come across these ladies that are part of a gender-based violence situation or abusive in some way, and then knowing that they've got nowhere else to go and you need to make a plan somehow or redirect them to someone else.
Okay, there are very few places that women can go, especially like gender-based violence where they need a case number, and very few places where pregnant women can go if they are destitute. A lot of the shelters, the general shelters, don't like taking pregnant women because of the responsibility of the pregnancy and the delivery and that kind of thing. So there is, I would say, a need for homes for pregnant women. Whether they keeping their baby or releasing their babies for adoption, I think there is a need for places like that.
How many pregnancy crisis centers are there in Gauteng or in the country?
I think at the moment there's approximately 45, but I do stand under correction. I think there's about 45 across the country.
Would you feel that there's enough places to assist the pregnant girls?
I don't think there's enough. Ideally, one in each town would be perfect, because then girls don't have to travel, and they can get the help that they need and the resources that they need. So if we had one in every town, that would be ideal.
I think for those people that are listening, that maybe have a stir in their heart, that maybe feel something for these pregnant girls, that they should rise up and trust the Lord to equip them and to open up these centers, or maybe start offering their time as volunteers at these centers to be better equipped. Because crisis counselling as well, or training?
Yes, we do training. It's a standardized training throughout all the pregnancy crisis centers. So if a girl goes from my center to another center, she'll get exactly the same kind of counseling, so that they can't shop around for their best options. It's a 4-day intense training, pregnancy crisis specific. It costs around about between 750 and 800 Rand per person. You do get a certificate afterwards, but that certificate only qualifies you to counsel within a pregnancy crisis center. You can't go and counsel outside of the pregnancy crisis center. It's a lovely program. It's an American-based program. Covers a lot of things, from dealing with your client at the point of her need, knowing who she is, connecting quickly with your client. We have a section on evangelism. We have a section on communication skills. So there's a lot that we cram into those 4 days. But it's really beneficial. It teaches you how to listen for cues in a person's conversation. So it's a really good training course called Equipped to Serve.
I suppose after that, they still need to be under your wing to physically sit in with counselling sessions, so that you can make sure that they are properly equipped, that it's not just knowledge that they took in, that they get the physical experience in counselling the ladies.
Yes, so in my center, there's a number of hours that you have to do just observing in the counselling room. And then you are observed doing a number of counselling cases. And once that I'm happy with you knowing what you're doing and not giving false information or misleading or manipulating the client, then we allow you to counsel on your own. So it's a supervised in-house training once you've done your actual formal training.
Well, I think it's a brilliant way for ladies or people in general to get involved in this type of work. It's affordable, and it's not that it's going to take you 10 years. So you can start and do something and become involved and make a difference in your area. And you don't know who the Lord's going to put on your path in future that you can assist by being properly equipped. So how many ladies would you say did you guys reach last year?
So last year, according to our stats, we did 732 appointments. So that can be with the same client, following up on her counselling, doing an ultrasound, doing HIV tests, supporting with single mom support packs. They're coming for various things. Could be an antenatal class, could be a business workshop, but we did 732 appointments last year.
Wow. So there really is a need in this field.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are the contact details that people can use to get into contact with your organization?
So I have a cell phone number that they can contact me on, and that is 083 56 26 106. Or they can contact me on email at lifelink@global.co.za.
And then you guys are based in Kempton Park, so they can find your details also on the internet, LifeLink Pregnancy Crisis Center, and just pop in when they're in the area.
So we're open Monday, Wednesday and Friday mornings between 9 and 1 to the public. And if they want to come and see what we're doing, they're more than welcome.
But just to make an appointment beforehand.
Yes, so that we're not in a workshop or something when they're planning on coming, but we do welcome visitors to the centre on those days.
Okay, and then is there any last viewpoints you want to leave the listeners with to maybe change the way they feel about out of wedlock pregnancy ladies, or how they look at them?
I think as a pastor, what I've seen over the years is that people in the church judge pregnant women rather harshly because they can see the sin. But we need to remember that we don't see the sin of the guy in our congregation who's watching porn, or the guy who's having an affair, or the woman that's gossiping. And if we were to carry labels above our heads of the sins that we're committing, pregnancy out of wedlock would be one of the least of our worries. And I think women need support. Women need to be encouraged. We all make mistakes. We all mess up. And to make her feel that she's less of a person because she's carrying a child out of wedlock, I find really wrong. These women need to be encouraged to come to repentance and wholeness and to be shown love. A lot of the women that we deal with have been abandoned by society, by their partners, by their churches. And they need love, and they need support, and they need encouragement. And who are we to judge them anyway? We don't understand the circumstances. We don't know what they've been through. We don't know why they're in the position that they're in. And I think we need to just come to a point where we show love, and we show compassion, and we show acceptance. We don't like the sin, but we love the person. And I think that's an important take home.
Yes, that's true. I think if you don't know how to be involved or how to make a difference, if you're listening today, just pray. Pray for more centers to open up that will be able to assist these pregnant girls or these pregnant ladies. Pray that the fathers will not abandon the mothers of the unborn children, that they will raise their children. In general, pray more so that the Lord can raise up more people to help in this area. Is there anything else you want people to pray for?
In general, prayer is very important, but hands-on practical support is what is needed a lot. There are various ways of getting involved. You could get involved by coming to sort donations or sourcing donations. You could want to get involved but not know how, and one great way is to have a little stalk party and invite all your friends, and they bring a plate of eats and an item for the baby shower, an item or a new item or a bar of baby soap or something, and then we will arrange for somebody to be at that stalk party who could speak about the centre and educate and inform people about what we do and how we do it. And then when we leave, we get to take the baby things back to the centre, which is a bonus for us. There are varied ways of getting involved. And if anybody's interested, they're more than welcome to phone us. We will email them a volunteer application form, and we can take it from there.
That's wonderful. So if this episode has stirred your heart, don't just continue with life. Please reach out and get involved in some way or another. Sharon, I don't have the words to truly express the depth of gratitude I feel today. You are walking into the places most people turn away from. You're sitting with the broken, holding the abandoned, and standing in the gap for the voiceless. You are proof that one person full of faith and fierce love really can make a difference. You've chosen to respond to one of the darkest crises with the brightest light, hope, dignity, and the belief that every single life matters. Thank you for your obedience to the call, for every sleepless night, every tear, every baby you've held, and every mother you've reached with grace. You are not only saving lives, you are honoring the heart of God in everything you do, thereby bringing glory to Jesus. And today, we honor you. You bring the following scripture to life in Proverbs 31 verse 8 and 9, where it says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy." So to everyone listening, I hope this conversation has stirred something in you, whether it's prayer, action, giving, or simply listening with more compassion. Don't turn away from this truth. Let it change you, because Sharon can't do it alone, but together we can show that every life is worth fighting for.